What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of JY Throws. In today's video, I want to share with you guys every major lesson that I've learned over the course of my throwing career related to injuries. So I don't want to make this portion of the video too long because I actually had an amazing day throwing today, so I want to cover some of that. But injuries are such a big part of throwing because the movements are so unnatural and we're constantly lifting heavy weights and trying to throw heavy things as far as possible. So I want to cover some prevention methods and the things that have helped me most to stay healthy, as well as cover how to diagnose an injury so you can get some good exercises to actually fix the problem. So the first thing that I really want to stress the importance of for injury prevention is making sure that you're not going too hard too fast. It takes years to build muscle and tendon strength, and while you're developing that, that's when things are more likely to get injured. So you want to make sure that you're getting consistent training at a good effort level, but don't try to do what other throwers are doing that have been throwing for years already because they've had the time to develop their muscle and tendon strength. So the example I like to use is farm strength. In high school, some of the strongest kids are the ones that are doing physical labor every day. And it's not because they're lifting super heavy weights, it's because they've been doing these repetitive exercises that have started to strengthen their muscles and tendons. And it's that strength and power that you want to try to find, and the only way to get there is through consistent training and building those things up. So the best way that you can prevent injuries is by working out every single muscle in your body so everything gets strong together so that there's no muscle groups that really start to take over other ones. And you're going to find that you definitely don't have enough time in the weight room to work out every single part of your body doing individual exercises. So you need to find a way to make sure that you're getting in all of those little lifts and the small things that'll build up every single part of your body. And I find that the best way to do that is by incorporating them into a good long warm-up. Not only will warming up make sure that all of your muscles are nice and loose and stretchy, so that you don't injure anything while you're throwing or lifting. But if you're warming up properly, you can take that time to work out all of the individual little muscle groups that you won't have time for in the weight room. So it's all the little things that really matter. By making sure that you're getting out and jogging as part of your warm-up, you're going to start to strengthen your shins and your ankles. I like to incorporate med ball throws into my warm-up, and that's working out my shoulders and my back and my core and my legs. And everything starts firing. And the tension in my muscles from working them out and getting them nice and activated before I throw helps me prevent injuries, but it's also building strength. And if you just take an extra half hour every day to make sure that you get a nice long warm-up, go through a bunch of these little exercises to make sure that you're strengthening everything. And as things start to hurt, you'll need to start to incorporate new exercises and do things different ways. And eventually you'll develop your own warm-up routine that's working out all of the parts of the body that you find you need activated. And anything that tends to give you problems, you'll have that in there always. But understanding it now so you can start to incorporate those things and force yourself to do them may be what keeps you healthy so that you can reach your next goal in throwing. So that's about it for preventative measures that you can take to avoid injuries. All you can really do is start to try to work out every single muscle in your body and try to strengthen everything evenly and consistently. And if you do it perfectly, then you're not going to have any injuries, but realistically, you're likely to be injured at some point. So I want to talk about diagnosing your injury so you can figure out what's wrong and find exercises to actually fix the problem. The first thing that I want to mention about diagnosing an injury is that getting an injury diagnosed as quickly as possible can be very important. Sometimes an injury that may be a couple months can be solved in a couple weeks or a couple days if you start to fix it right away. So I want to talk about a couple strategies to diagnose an injury. The first way to diagnose your injury is by going to see a doctor. If you've got any serious crippling pain, or you think a muscle's torn, or something's out of place, or something's seriously wrong, go see a doctor because they have x-rays and MRIs that can literally see inside of your body. And that can be one of the best ways to diagnose a problem, especially if it's something serious or something that's below the top layer of muscles that you can't see from the outside. So the biggest problem with going to see a doctor is that it can get very expensive. And from my own personal experiences with the doctors that I've had, they weren't too helpful with giving me good rehab exercises afterwards. The next option that I want to talk about for diagnosing an injury is going to see a physical therapist. If you find a good physical therapist, they can be great to diagnose your problem. And most physical therapists can give you great exercises to strengthen and stretch muscles. The biggest problem is if they're diagnosing you properly, and then if because of that they're not giving you the right exercises to work on. I went through a lot of physical therapists before I ended up with the guy that I use now. And he's helped me more than anyone else to understand what's actually wrong with me when I'm injured and can break down what's going on. So I want to share with you guys some of the things that he's helped me figure out, and they may help you to better diagnose your own problems. So the number one thing that I've learned through working with my current physical therapist and experiencing my other injuries, pretty much every time that something hurts, the problem's originating somewhere else. And I want to show you how you can start to find that and figure out what's going wrong. So the first time I was injured and worked with my current physical therapist, I was having a shoulder issue on the front of my shoulder, and I couldn't raise up my arm without pain. So he started digging in my armpit and breaking up some muscles, and within minutes I was able to raise my arm almost completely pain-free. He started to explain that because muscles on my back were tight, that was causing the muscle on the front of my shoulder to overwork. So even though the pain was actually in my shoulder, the problem was coming from my back. He then gave me stretches for under my arm and some shoulder strengthening exercises, and the combination of those made the pain go away. So by looking up images of the human anatomy, identifying where something in you hurts, and then start to look at all the muscle groups around that are connected. If there's something obvious that you find and you can feel the tightness where all the muscles come together, then you know you can start to work on that, maybe break that up, and that can take some tension off of what's hurting. But also you can go online, look up the name of the muscles, and exercises to strengthen that. And whether it's on YouTube or Google, I'm sure you'll find exercises for every single muscle. So you can start to create your own rehab routine, and that can help you overcome an injury. Or if you know something's prone to being sore, you can start to strengthen that in your warm-up routine, like I was mentioning earlier, so that it doesn't progress into a full injury. So even if you don't feel comfortable diagnosing your own injury, looking up the human anatomy and starting to understand where and what the names of muscles are in your body, when you go to see a physical therapist or doctor, you'll be able to ask more informed questions and be able to understand more of what they're talking about. And they can start to get into some medical terms that they'll have an easier time explaining what's going on. And then you can take that information home and learn more. Also, once you start getting into specific muscles, you can start to ask for specific exercises to strengthen that, and then you'll have even more things that you can incorporate into your warm-up. Because at the end of the day, you really need to learn your own body and create your own workout that's specific to you so that you can stay healthy. So initially today, I just planned to try to feel some things in the ring and do a voiceover of practice, but I started to feel some really good things. So at this point, I'm going to continue with my practice because there's some things in here that I want to make sure that I remember, and because of that, I figured some of you guys might find it helpful. For shot put in my stand throw, I really like the feeling of thinking about keeping that really long off arm, and that felt like it helped keep the ball on a long path and helped me remember it better. Oh yeah. Oh no. Catch the ball back, long off arm, long ball path.
Your right foot is all the way almost out of the board, yeah.
Okay.
Check the video, yeah. Yeah!
Alright, moving on to discus, just feeling my leg nice and long, my hip pulling ahead, and getting my feet down to a good position so I can finish nice and long. So I've been really frustrated with how discus is going lately, and I just haven't been connected to the discus and I haven't felt the power. But today, towards the end of practice, I realized such an obvious mistake that I've been making that just all of a sudden made sense. And after feeling it, it's so painful to watch these throws, so I'm going to fast forward to the part where I started to feel it, and I can't wait to get up to practice to continue to feel this next time. I just started thinking, like, why the f can't I finish it? Like, it can't be that hard. Like, I can feel a stand throw, and when I go nice and easy with the non-reverse, I can feel those pretty good. But then I started thinking, like, as I'm winding back, it so often gets low, and then I'm like, if it's getting that low, maybe I'm just letting it go too far, because then it starts to drop after a certain point. So I'm like, just get it to the point where it stays tall. And now I just want to try to feel it stay there so it doesn't get as far behind, because it's like there has to be a way that I can not fuck up the finish so bad.
Yeah, there you go. That is good.
So right now I'm trying to feel the discus like I am with the shot put, and if you look, the shot put stays like right in front, and with the discus I let it get so far behind that it's nowhere close to the same position. So I'm just trying to feel the wind and try to get back to that similar shot put feeling position, because I like where that puts my hips and upper body and stuff.
Yes, yes, yes. A little bit to the side.
Yeah.
I like it. That was good too. All right. All right.
Good. I like that feeling a lot. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap things up here. Things are feeling awesome right now. I just had such a good realization in both shot put and discus. For shot put in my stand throw, I really like the feeling of thinking about keeping that really long off arm, and that felt like it helped keep the ball on a long path and helped me remember it better. And for discus, the feeling of winding up the discus and trying to get it back to a position so it feels like the shot put could be there. I want the discus to kind of be in that same feeling position as I'm going to the middle, get that hip ahead, and then I've got a good amount of separation rather than winding up, letting the discus get low and too far behind, and then it's never in a position that I can actually get to the finish and finish it well unless I don't know, somehow accidentally do it. So giving myself a purpose through the ring, some things to think about, feels really good, and I'm super happy with that. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, and if you really enjoyed it, subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next one.